technology has led her to graduate with a master's in data science from IIT Kanpur. Coming from a technological background, she started her career with a service based startup wherein she used her skills for solving complex analytical problems, which you guys will know a little about by the end of this session. She has a strong expertise in predictive analysis, forecasting, anomaly detection, text mining, and currently she is working as a data scientist at Ericsson Global Limited, focusing on developing end-to-end AI solution that can be readily integrated with the existing business process and support in steering data-driven decisions. Now, for the basic code of conduct or rules, please during the webinar keep your mics at mute so that other participants are not disturbed and the facilitator himself can work. So Venkatesh sir,
Yeah, I can hear you. I think you are losing a bit,
over to
I
you.
guess. Yeah.
Have a great
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think you're losing a bit, Aishwar, but it's fine. Okay, so let's quickly go into the content part. I just wanted to share. Okay, so hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I hope everybody is safe, healthy, and fine. This COVID has been very, very difficult to a lot of people, but we hope for a good, safe, healthy life for all the people out here. So let's quickly jump into what we are planning to start today. So we would cover, this is a program where we wanted to share insights and understanding about how data is so helpful for a lot of clients, a lot of customers, a lot of people who are wanting to be a part of the data revolution, who could be a student, who could be a company employee or a professional, or who could be also an MSME entrepreneur. So that's the very, so this is a very foundation understanding of how data is very critical to all of us. uh, Quickly, this would cover around next 120 to 130 minutes, and we would try and seek as much questions as you have so that we can explain to you and give you our understanding and with our experience. Very simple topics which we would want to cover to all of you. We would start with what is it all about being smarter, and a lot of definitions are covered, and a lot of people talk about different definitions, and we would try and help you to address those so that you can understand these in much more detail. Then we will talk about a very interesting story which gives you an understanding about how analytics is all about, and we term it as a doctor story. The one of the most critical part of data science is the data science process, in which how you go ahead and work on data for your business or for your career prospects. So we will talk about that. Then we will speak a bit about the entire journey of how the data science as an overall approaches across the world. You know, what is machine intelligence all about, and what are the different facets of data science. Then we will quickly speak about dashboards and applications, and then we will try and share some examples of how analytics has been implemented in the large companies to smaller companies. And that's the broad agenda for the today's discussion. And please, as Aishwarya said, please put up your questions on the chat so that once we complete the entire process, it will be easy for all of us to, address every question. Okay, let's start, and of course, we will send you an e-certificate for participation. So what's happening around us? And this is a very interesting point which we want to understand. I hope I'm absolutely audible. Is there any challenge? Please say yes, no. It will be helpful.
It's
No
good.
challenge.
Okay, great. So we need to understand first what's happening around us. You know, there are a lot of things happening, especially with the COVID and the post-COVID times. The disruption or the entire digitalization approach has taken to next level. People who never wanted to buy computers are starting to buy computers exclusively for watching programs. Conversing with people on Zoom and a lot of things. So. Let me talk to you from an analytics perspective, from a technology perspective, what's happening today. And there are some real facts which have been deciphered. So, first is there are a lot of non technologies who are trying to put their hands in data and AI. So, I was a part of the IIT Madras event, which they are conducting an online 3-year degree course in data science. And let me tell you, 3,500 applications, out of which 75% of the applications were non-technology, non-engineering students. So that's what data science is creating a whole amount of approach and a huge amount of interest to a lot of people. Indian incorporation, every company today who's into large or small multinational, they are using data analytics to do fair appraisals. To HR typically uses a lot of analytical tools for their candidature, right from sourcing the candidate to giving them a fair appraisal. A lot of customers are spending more time in data analytics to mitigate risk. So you see either the customer or a consumer, they are all looking at data analytics, either comparing two products, identifying which product is better in Amazon, or to a company who is trying to prune data, understanding whether if this guy is taking a home loan, does he have a right approach or a right attitude or a mindset to buy a personal loan, and how many people who have taken a home loan have actually taken a personal loan. So these are certain things which are happening a very, very detailed way today. A lot of companies actually are hiring digital technology and new age professionals. So they are looking at professionals who have an understanding of digitalization, who have a fair understanding about how they can manage websites. Social media is like a given thing where every employer looks at from an employee. uh, if you're looking at an MSME perspective, a lot of data analytics is currently used to curb face tax input, and with the long absence and time given for a lot of people to post their GST returns, this becomes very crucial for ensuring that it's a very fair input tax. Uh, well, yes, this is something more interesting. So I see a lot of CXOs wanting to go back to school again. The amount of different colleges and institutes which offer cohorts and offer programs on the data analytics is no small. It's like every company, every industry, or every industry CEO would want to actually look at this again. Predictive business analytics. So one of the key things what MSMEs, which we fairly look in detail, predictive business analytics is one of the going to be the game changer for them. If they can predict what is their next month's operational expenses, or if they can predict what is the business they want to end in this financial year, I think that gives them a lot of solace. Uh, we spoke about frauds. Data analytics also trying to correct a lot of insurance frauds. So there are computer visioning uh, applications which actually find out with the photographs of your claims on auto whether they were right or wrong. Well, at a macro level, there is a huge amount of impetus given on data. So Niti Aayog is building a national data platform to create a huge amount of data base for a lot of initiatives at a macro social level. And there are companies like TCS and Wipro who are trying to drive and push across their expertise to build a lot of large scale data analytics products, especially at the insurance and a lot of many macro areas. Now, this is one part of the story. And if you look at the real emerging things which are coming up, we are looking at 5G networking coming for the enterprise. And there are a lot of products today which are just plug and play. Gone are the days where you had to buy a software, put across certain infrastructure and try and deliver things. Now, most of the products are plug and play. You just buy it, operate it, and just start on working. Artificial intelligence is a very big buzz and the most abusive word, which I could probably say, and it is going to drive a lot of automation today. And we will talk about that as we speak ahead. And then we have something known as automation in the infrastructure or an IT play itself. And also the last is most critical, which is coming up advanced is the edge computing. Now, this is something which is happening. And what the most important part is, what are we trying to understand out of this? We need to know only some basic numbers. There is a 40x increase in the processing speed. There is a 40x increase in the processing speed today from today's computer to the 2010 personal computer. Almost $2.5 trillion is the potential economic impact which is going to be because of the continued adoption of mobility services till 2025. $260 billion is the impact of data integration in retail banking. With the off late news of government trying to open up more banking institution, this would definitely be higher, especially when I look at Indian numbers. there is almost a 2x growth in the volume of data expected to be stored or used in the every 3 years. So every 3 years, the data usage or the total storage of data is going to be 2x. And last, very, very critical, almost 2 million to 4 million is the demand of projected business translators. And I will talk about what are business translators as we go ahead in the next decade. Now, these are huge numbers, and I believe that if I do the same session almost 6 months later, these numbers would have drastically changed it. And that is the speed in which we are looking at how businesses are using data. Now, let me go quickly and get you some perspective of what is it all about. So, the world is getting smarter today. We have smarter mobiles, smarter phones, smarter homes, smarter love. So, if you are looking out for a matrimonial service, and I'll give you a very easier example to understand, all you need to do is put the different parameters of what kind of a bride or a groom you require or you desire. You desire a Brahmin bride, you desire an age bracket, you have a qualification bracket. All you need to do is put those valid sets as parameters, and the particular matrimonial site would throw back that particular type of filtered data for you. And that is what is happening today. You no longer you're looking at a panditji or someone who's trying to come up and talk to you about it. We now track and store data practically every time, every day. So let's quickly start with a very basic thing of what is data and what is information. So to cut the story short, it's very simple. Data are raw facts. They have no context. They are just numbers, text, or images. Whereas if you talk about information, they are processed data which have context, which have summary, tabled, organized, and analyzed possibilities. So let's take a simple example. If I write just 3445, 4446, and some numbers here and there, you won't make a head or tail of it. But the moment I write it is a roll number on top as a heading or a label, and then put these numbers, then there is a context. And that is exactly what we desire today. Today, we desire is not data, but the information and the insight out of the data. And that is what this whole data science approach is all about. So let's talk about a very interesting situation, and we term this as a big shift. Uh, so what happens typically is because of these changes which are happening in the market, the digital revolution, a associated disruption in the demography, customer preferences, and internal changes and external changes across your organization, there has been a huge amount of outdated business model being still used. There are people who are still trying to struggle with their business model, and especially in these post COVID or the COVID times, people are really struggling, especially in terms of their financial understanding, their working capital understanding, their understanding about how do I hire people and still make money. uh, Processes are completely outdated. The old processes are not at all useful today, and most importantly, inadequate application of tools which they have. People have been using old databases like Foxbase. People have been using Excel, but it is not helping them because the competition is really going ahead. And most importantly, there has been a huge amount of improper resource planning, which all are leading to a very flawed decision making today to most of the professionals and the entrepreneurs. Now, what is it all about? So there are only three things. There are things which we can control, things which we can influence, and things which we can't control. Obviously, a COVID, uh, 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 what do you say, cyclone, everything cannot be controlled. There are some things which gets influenced. The government definitely is getting influenced with the situation, offering huge amount of sobs to people. But what we can control is our own organization's process and a data, so that which we can help us to get a better outcome. Now, all of these things is making the business really panic, and that is what has been happening. If you see the amount of small and medium businesses panicking, it's no jokes. Now, definitely there are things which we can control, and data can help you do it in a more appropriate way. So let's understand what are the challenges today faced by a business. Very simply put, a very simple customer to life cycle. If I say there's a customer, there is a retail channel, could be outlets, could be a customer store, then there is a distribution channel, and then there's a warehouse. So every place there is a business challenge. Customers are changing. Old customers are not the same customers today because of COVID. People are getting things at their home. The Zomatos and the Swiggies of the world are doing a roaring amount of business because people are getting what they want at home. There are new channels of business and communication started. People exactly get an offer on their phone or on their email or on their site wherever they surf of what they want, and huge amount of focus is on a customer satisfaction. Today the scores what you put after you purchase from any e-commerce website makes a huge difference to the vendor who is providing and that e-commerce site. Multi-branded outlets, today there is a science behind retail. A left of a shop what is to be stored is actually a science which has been looked at. There's been an efficient planogram in place where people can exactly want to see what they want to see on the left side. There is a huge focus on visibility, stocks and right stocks. Are they stocks not old? Are they updated real ones? Are they fresh stocks? Price competitiveness, the amount of offers you get in a shop today is no jokes. There are bundled offers, and we will talk about how data analytics helps businesses in bundled offers. Definitely, huge amount of focus has been on the distribution channel. There are huge challenges to reduce cost because there is a huge amount of focus in one market where there is no focus in the other market. Routes are being optimized. There is a focus. There are a lot of websites and logistics companies which provide effective route mapping for the logistical for the distribution today. And definitely warehouse becomes very critical, which becomes the last end of this whole chain, where people need to actually look at how demand forecasting can be looked at. How can we manage inventory properly? Can we look at a just in time? Can we look at a process where I can do a production or I can actually request for a production in X days? There are a lot of bike companies today which work on JIT inventory. When you order or book a bike, the bike gets starts to produce and then it's shipped to the warehouse. So there is a huge change which has happened in the business, at least in this supply chain. And these changes are very important for people to grow and build their business profitably. Now, when you need to look at these changes, experience just is not enough. You just can't rely on the old experience. What you need to rely today is on facts, deeper insights, and a root cause analysis. You need to know if a particular product is not being selling, why it is not being selling. And these things are controllable. They can be controlled. So how do we control this? Let me quickly go through this. These are the ways we can control. We can control what? The business costs, the marketing price points, the elements of marketing, the typically the 4 P's what we talk about. We can control operational efficiencies. We can control the customer engagement. We can definitely control the strategy in which we communicate to people. Of course, there is a risk involved which can be mitigated, and we can definitely look at how do we effectively look at a resource utilization. Now, how do we control this? A very simple way of controlling this is to look at a fact-based decision-making process. 4 areas critically where you look at your decision making which happens is: one is the customer end, which is the marketing analytics area, which is called as marketing analytics. Then there is operation, which is typically your operational analytics, which is the process of how you reach to your customer. And last is the macro area, which is the risk analytics, where you need to take a decision in the risk area. Now, these are the 3 critical areas which help you drive your business, and all of these are decision making areas. And if you have a fact based decision making through a data, it will definitely help you take a proper note of things and go ahead. Now, what are the tangible results for these? One, use of data analysis for understanding various marketing help elements. It will help you to build a measurable process. One of the key things which every company or every professional would desire it to measure what he does. So measurement is something which helps you through analytics. You can definitely measure the return on investment, reach your customer engagement. Today there are scores of customer engagement. It could be a simple it could be a score like a customer satisfaction index, or it could be anything like a CIBIL score. You all need to know how your customers are. then you can apply these customer engagements effectively. Once you know what kind of customer you are having and what kind of customer you're trying to target, you will be able to use effective engagement programs for that set of customers. So I'm sure that if you have having any telephone connectivity and your friend has the same, no two people will get the same offer, and that is because it's a very customized engagement which happens to a particular data set of customers. End of the day, you can measure, analyze, and use your resources wisely. So these are the things which we can do from a business perspective when we adhere or embrace data science and analytics in their field. So let's quickly go to some key terminologies which a lot of people always trying to confuse. So there is a very clear difference between data science and data analytics, and there are a lot more things. So what is data science? Data science is a field that comprises of everything related to data, right from cleansing the data, preparing the data for analysis, and dealing with structured and unstructured data. I have a whole lot of content and a module on the data science itself. We can talk in detail on this, what kind of structured and unstructured data are. Now, what does data science comprise of? It is a combination of statistics, mathematics, programming, problem solving, capturing data in different ways, and ability to look at data differently. And that is what is all about data science. In simple terms, it's an umbrella of technique used to extract insights and information from the data what you have. Now, analytics is a subset of data science. So, what is analytics? Analytics is a part of data science where it takes data, which is the raw data, and converts it into some process, either an algorithmic or a mechanical process to derive insights. For example, it will you have say a data of a school. There are 10 different standards in a school. There are two divisions, A and B divisions in the school. Now you would want to find out which is how many girls are there in that school. So that is what data analytics does. It will take data of different sets from class 1A 1B to class 10A 10B and try and put some kind of an algorithm to say whether you have a mark sheet or a roll number or a gender or a name, and try and give you an outcome through a process saying that there are say 70% of the school has girl child. And so this is what is data analytics. So data science is an overall composition of analytics and all other aspects which will help you to come with an output, where data analytics is a subset of data science. Let me quickly then take you through what are the 6 things which helps you to build your business using data analytics and thereby on a larger basis data science. One is it helps you acquire and grow and retain customers. It transforms your financial process and management activities. So there are a lot of process refinements which can happen after you do analyze your data. It helps you in creating new business models. It definitely optimizes operations, counter fraud and threats, and definitely it helps you manage risk and thereby maximizing your insight, improving your business growth. Now, all of these are very, very fundamental and important for most of the businesses, and we will talk about this with some examples as we go ahead. Uh, Before we go ahead, let us give some sense of data, and I will give you some glimpse about what is data all about. So, decoding the data is something like this. There are typically 5 tenets of data. So, normally, first is the volume. So, the amount of data which is collected is known as volumes of data. You keep on counting that as 1 GB, 2 GB, 100 GB, so on and so forth. There are various types of data. Today you are writing an email, which is a text data. You're sending an image on Instagram, which is an image data. You're sending a voice note to someone, which is a voice data. So there are different types of data, which is a variety which data has. Frequency also makes a major important. So today, if you are having an electricity connectivity, every moment that data is captured of how much usage you're doing, and it gets stored in a computer or a database. So there is a frequency of usage of electricity is a data which gets captured, and end of the month you get a bill saying that I have so much of electricity consumed and this is the power or whatever I have to pay. Then the integrity of data, there is very clear understanding that data is very clear in terms of it has to be clear and correct. So the tenets of data is the veracity or the integrity. and the last is you what value you make out of data over a period of time, and that is more important. So these are the five key things or tenets of data which we normally call. And then let's talk about some types of data. Okay, we have not talked about types of data. Let me speak very quickly on three types of data. There are data which is structured data, unstructured data, and a dynamic data. Structured data is what I said, which is having a heading with some details, ABCD as a heading, or names as a heading with your name, my name, Tom, Jim, so on and so forth. Unstructured data is data where you write out emails without any particular way. Only the heading and the what do you say, the subject of the email is structured, whereas the content, what you can write anything. You can write you can write a letter, you can probably send an image, you can send a movie, whatever. That is unstructured data. And today there are a lot of dynamic data which are coming up in terms of usage, like GIFs and a lot of other things. So these are the types of data which we will talk more in detail maybe in some other time. Now, having given this perspective of what is data and what can analytics do, and a lot of focus today happens in the world about data scientists, and everybody wants to become a data scientist. So we just wanted to get a sense of what are data scientists all about. So a data scientist is a person who needs to have these basic qualification. And let me explain to you what is a qualification all about and what is so important in this. Definitely, because he is an analyst, he needs to understand programming. He could learn some programming, which is important for him. He needs to have a good sense of statistics, which is there important for his business, and which can help you use statistical tools to analyze data. Definitely, without a mathematical understanding, the statistical quotient is less. So he needs to have these three critical tools which he needs to learn over a period of time to become a better data scientist. But one of the biggest things which people miss is this is all irrelevant if he doesn't know what business he is into. So one of the important thing is, if you are into business of real estate or if you are into the business of manufacturing, if I don't know how that business operates, if I don't know how the real estate is actually built over a period of time, if I don't know how a textile company works, then having mathematical learning, statistical learning, or a programming language has no use. So if I have to share the percentage of what needs to be a JD for a person and a job specification to be more precise, a person needs to have 20% of each of this, which is programming, statistics, and mathematics. But the remaining 40% needs to have a business understanding. So a person needs to understand that vertical, the industry, before he can actually start analyzing the data. Now, are we all good to go till now? Any questions till now? Hello? Please, is there any questions?
Venki, just quick question. The ones which you shared the numbers in dollars, that's the global numbers that you're talking about, right?
This is
Yeah,
at
yeah,
the start.
they are the global
Okay.
numbers. Yeah, they are global numbers. Yeah. Would you want me to would you want me to show you that?
No, no, no,
Yeah, yeah,
no,
they
no.
are global numbers. They are numbers. They are not Indian numbers for sure. Yeah. Okay. So, any more questions, folks? Before we get into some interesting storytelling. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one more question. That also business
I can't hear you. Sudeep, can you be a little louder?
uh,
Uh,
I'm on my phone. Uh, is this better?
yeah, this is better. Yeah.
Okay. I was asking the question is we also come across roles like business analyst or business analytics. How different is this from the data analytics or data scientist roles? That
Yeah. So
is it
I
the
will.
same?
No. So it is a data scientist is a far evolved one than a business analyst. Typically, a business analyst works on on a set given things. He just analyzes the data and presents it in a particular format. The data scientist role goes beyond that. So when we speak about the data science process, you will get to know what we are talking about.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we will cover that. Yeah. Okay. So I think there's
All
someone
right.
in chat. Yes, can the questions be typed so we can hear? Definitely. So I think that's what we spoke. Definitely, we can type the questions. Everybody, please type the questions too, so that we can have a more detailed and inclusive discussion. Okay, so let me quickly go through this doctor story, and I think this is one of the most fascinating things which I keep on talking, and I believe that this is something most simplest form of analytics explanation which I foresee. So everybody must have gone to a doctor, and I think more so in the last 3 months. Definitely, I think the percentage of people going to the doctor would be definitely 90 plus. So let's hear this doctor story. So there is a person, like say for example, you are not well and you are going to the doctor. So you say, "Hi, doctor, what's happening?" So you go and tell the doctor, and the doctor greets you and says, "What is happening?" So you keep on talking to the doctor. You tell him, "You know what, doctor, I am really not feeling well. I was not well. I have a cough, cold. I'm very scared that whether I would have COVID or I don't know what is not happening to me." So the first question what doctor is asking to you is what is happening, and you try and explain that story to him by telling this is what is happening. Now, a very logical thing the doctor would ask you is, why is it happening? And what did you do so that this is happening? Then you go back and tell the doctor, you know what, yesterday I was traveling, it was very hot. I had a couple of soft drinks outside. I was having some fried items. I was very hungry. So I believe that, this was what has happened. Or probably if you have some symptoms of COVID, which he feels, you would also add up and say that, I traveled to a couple of places last 2 weeks because of work. So I met a lot of people. I was in a lot of congregation of people. Now, next, what doctor is what doctor has enormous amount of his knowledge, his understanding, and he starts to diagnose. He says, "Okay, you know what? Don't worry, you just have a common cold. I don't see symptoms of COVID, but I feel that you have a viral, so you need to take 5 days rest." And this is what it is. So you will probably end up with a 5 days of bed rest with nothing to move. And I will give you prescribed medicines from my dispensary. You don't have to buy any antibiotic. So, and that's what doctor says. That what he says that you will end up with. Now, obviously, you being you, a dynamic entrepreneur, dynamic professional, you can't take 5 days off. And you say, "Doctor, this is not happening because I need to really move out and I need to travel tomorrow." So the doctor does what? He prescribes you some antibiotic, which he says, "Okay, you take this morning, evening 500 mg, and you should be fine tomorrow and you can start work." So if you relate to this story, I believe this is the most common uniform story across the world which happens. You meeting a doctor or a doctor and a patient customer life cycle, if I have to say. So this is typically an analogy for what analytics is all about. So the first thing in analytics which you need to know is what is happening to your business. Is your business going good, going bad? Are we growing? Are we not growing? And you need to first understand what is happening to your business. Now, first, when you understand what is happening to your business, you also need to understand why it is happening, right? If you are selling an HUL product and the sales of that particular product are skyrocketing, then you need to know why. Is it because of the brand or the brand ambassador or the competitive price increase? So, whatever it is. So, there are a lot of factors in understanding why it is happening. The third important thing is you predict. If it is happening the way it is happening and it continues to happen that way, what is going to be the end result? So your forecasting is your predictive model. So you predict that currently with the COVID situation, 9 months no business has happened. For the next 5 months, looking at the current Diwali or a post Diwali outcome, I probably will end up with this much sales by the 31st March. And that is what this prediction. So if it continues the way it is, this is what likely to happen. And you being you would want to change that. You want to change and correct because you don't want that to happen. You don't want to just close at 50 crores and you would probably want to close at 125 crores. So you need to take some corrective actions which are prescribed. And that is known as the fourth thing, which is prediction or prescription. So, to clear analogy in data analytics, descriptive is the first part, which is known as descriptive analytics. It explains what happened. Diagnostic analytics, which is basically says why it happened. Then you predict the outcomes based on the current situation, which is predictive analytics, and then you prescribe certain changes, either the way you look at the pricing, the way you look at the market, the way you identify customers for engagement, way you segment the customers for focused opportunities and focused communication is what is prescription, and that is what is overall which happens in data analytics. Now, this is the fundamental of data analytics. I could challenge this across any forum, the story and the particular process, and this is where the entire analytics is all about. And if you just recall this, most of Indians in ancient days, we all do this at different parts of our life. In your family, if your mother is taking care of the entire household work, she is doing everyday diagnostic, what is happening, how much of saman is left, if this is coming Sunday, my kids would want to eat this, so I need to create predictive outcomes. For that, I need to keep stock of things. So we use analytics in every walk of life, right from home to every big business. The only difference is the size of information which we need to cater is large. The size of data for us to analyze is large, and hence we have a lot of data tools which help you do that. Let's go ahead and now understand the A to Z of data science. And these are some very, very important terms. We will not cover anything of this sort because this is just an introduction. We will have a lot of sessions, upcoming sessions on each of this. We will talk about everything as and when we have sessions on this. So it starts with the data science process, and that is what we are touching upon today. It has visualization. There is something known as databases, which becomes very integral to data science. There is a statistical learning, obviously machine learning, then deep learning and computer vision. We have deep learning and natural language processing. Then we have open computer vision. Then we have something known as deep natural language processing. You have something known as sentimental analysis, artificial intelligence, and a very advanced one is deep reinforcement learning and journey of AI. Uh, we will talk about it. So we are coming to that. What is deep learning? We will come to that. Yeah. So what I would suggest now is let's look at the next area, which is the data science process. And I would request Tanvi to start the discussion. Tanvi would be taking through the data science process, where I come back to talk to the other part of the initiative. So Tanvi, are you there?
Yes, Venkat. Thanks a
Okay,
lot.
thank.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Tanvi,
Can
so
you go
all
to the
yours.
next? Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So far, Venkatesh has walked us through what data science is, what is the role of a data scientist, and some use cases where data is used to generate actionable insights or the facts-based decisions. Now let's look into the different aspects of the data science process. We need to understand the methodical ways of moving from problem to approach, include, including the importance of understanding the question, the business goals and objectives, and picking the most effective analytical approach, whether be it descriptive, predictive, or prescriptive, to answer the question and solve the problem. We have to determine the data requirements and collect the appropriate data. We then understand the data, do some exploratory data analysis, do pre-visualization, and then prepare the data for modeling. We understand how to model the data by using the appropriate analytical approach based on the data requirements and the problem that we are trying to solve. Once the approach is selected, we evaluate the model performance and deploy the model into production, get feedback on it, and use that feedback constructively to improve the model. Venkatesh, next slide, please. Yep. In this particular slide, we have shown in detail all the steps involved in the data science process, that is, the end-to-end machine learning lifecycle. This shows the steps involved in tackling any data science problem and applying them to interesting real-world examples. As you can see, this is an iterative process. We start from identifying the problem, then we understand the business, we understand the data requirements, and collect the data accordingly. We then do some analysis and cleaning of our data. So as you can see, what happens normally, what we have seen is once we start analyzing the data, we come across some facts, and when we cross check it with what business has already told us, some facts might not be matching, which means that either there is some unusual behavior which we are seeing within the data, and we go back to the business and tell them that this is what has happened, and they help us to understand that particular why that particular abnormal behavior has come, what is the reason behind that. So in the coming slides, what we will do is we will understand what questions one should ask during each of this process in detail. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the first part is from problem to approach. So first we need to understand what is the problem we are trying to solve. What are the business goals and objectives? We need to understand the business process, define and frame the business problem, understand the business goals and objectives by talking to our key stakeholders, and understand what exactly is the problem with the current decisioning process. We can have multiple objectives, like let's say we want to reduce the cost, and let's say we want to reduce the manual efforts as well. Then the next question is, how can we use data to answer these questions? Based on that, we need to select the right analytical approach depending on what question is being asked. If let's say if the question is to understand the relationship, like what relationship is between the age and salary of an employee, how related are these two variables, then we can have a descriptive approach which we can use over here. If let's say the question is to determine the probability of any action, like what is the probability that it will rain today, then we might have a predictive model in place. If the question requires a yes or no kind of an answer, which is like let's say whether a person is fit or not, whether he has cancer or not, then a classification approach can be used to predict a response suitable to this particular question. Now the next question that we need to ask is, can machine learning be utilized? uh, First we need to understand that machine learning is not a solution for all the problems. If a problem can be solved with simple techniques, like we can have some rules in place for those, then we should go for it rather than going for machine learning. Then we define the success criteria. Now, the success criteria can be anything depending on your business process. It can be in terms of revenue, like increasing the revenue by 10%. It can be in terms of cost reduction. It can be in terms of customer experience, or it can be in terms of reducing the manual effort that goes into the process. Let's say we want to reduce 20% of the application that goes into the manual decisioning process. A success criteria can be thought of just as an indicator for the return of investment of the AI ML project. We can't have an exact number until we implement until we implement the project. Next slide, please. Yep. Now coming to from requirements to collection. Now, there's a common saying that is given. Let's say that we are preparing a dish, maybe let's say biryani, and if we don't have the right ingredients for this particular dish, the success of the dish will be affected. Applying the same analogy to our machine learning process, let's say if the problem that needs to be resolved is a recipe and data is an ingredient, so we need to identify which ingredient are required. That is, what type of data do we need to use, how to source or collect that particular data, how to understand or work with them, and how to prepare the data to meet the desired outcome. Here, I will also like to give an example. Let's say you are interested in knowing the demand of your particular product and you want to do demand forecasting. So first you need to understand what is the historical demand of that particular product. Do you have any kind of transactional data that is available within your organization? Do you have customer data? Do you know which stores are producing more demand? So these are the different data sources that we will need in order to do demand forecasting. Next slide, please. Now, from understanding to preparation. So once we have the data that is collected, then we work on understanding the data. We do exploratory data analysis and visualization in order to assess the content, quality, and we draw some initial insights about the data. Now, coming back to our example of cooking biryani, so we can think of data preparation as similar to washing the freshly picked vegetables that we are going to put into the biryani. And what we do is we remove all the unwanted elements such as dirt and imperfections. All those are removed. Together with this data collection and data understanding, data preparation is one of the most time consuming phase of the data science project, which normally accounts for 70 to 90% of the overall project time. So we need to keep in mind that it's not only about the algorithm, but also about the data that we are fitting into the model. So it's a very famous saying in the machine learning industry is that your machine learning model is as good as the data that you are feeding in. If you feed in garbage, your output will also be garbage. Next slide, please. Yep. So now we will talk about how we go from modeling to evaluation. So first, we develop the models that can be either descriptive or prescriptive, depending on the question that you have asked. An example of a descriptive model would be, let's say, if a person did this, then they are likely to prefer that. And another example for a predictive model would be to yield yes or no type of an answer. Let's say we are getting some kind of emails, like all of you would be using Gmail as one of your email provider. So you keep on getting so many mails. So there is a way that you can classify your mails into spam and not spam. So that kind of a classification problem is a kind of predictive problem where we are just trying to predict whether a new email is spam or not. So basically what we do is we have something called as a training data. The model learns from the training data, and then we evaluate this model on the validation or the test data. In order to evaluate the model performance, we have different metrics, like based on the question that you have asked, either you can judge your model performance based on the accuracy or on the error that it is generating. Once we have a good evaluation metric and a good performance, we go for the next phase of modeling, which is we deploy the model into production. Next slide, please. Yep. So like I mentioned, once the model is evaluated, it is deployed and it is put to the ultimate test. Depending on the purpose of the model, we what we can do is we may roll it out to a limited group of users in the test environment, and once we have some confidence build up on the model, we can apply it onto the real environment wherein all of our users will be interacting with that particular model. Then we have a process of feedback as well. So once the model is in production, we collect the feedback from the users, which help us to refine the model and access the and improve the future performance and the impact of that particular model. So the performance of our model would be highly dependent on how successful we are in able to incorporate the feedback from the users and make the necessary adjustments. Next slide, please. Okay, now I will hand it over to Venkatesh to walk you through the other slides. Venkatesh, you are on mute.
Sorry. Hi. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Tanvi. So just wanted to summarize this whole data science process. A very simple approach to solving a problem, which is identifying the problem statement, then to finding the requirements and what are the requirements which would lead to collecting that data for you to prepare and solve the problem, as she rightly spoke about the example of the biryani ingredient. Then from understanding to preparing the data, that means cleansing and clearing the points and what are the unwanted things, then putting that particular problems and putting the putting the data points into a modeling so that you can evaluate and see whether what are the statistical steps you use here and evaluate to get a desired output, and then put the desired output in a trial data set or probably deploy it on some test data sets, and then seek feedback and keep on evolving the process so that you get the desired output to a right success metrics what you want. So that's the very straightforward, simple data science process. We can have a separate detailed discussion on data science process, because one of the key things which we normally miss is this 2 points. Most of the companies and clients, whenever we work with, and they keep on saying that I have to get some data. I don't have data. The first thing is they have a lot of data. The problem is they don't know what they want as an outcome or an information. So once we go through the process, and the second critical thing is, because we are a, a, a people who are analysts and would love to work on all those spreadsheets and visualization. Till the time you don't define the problem, we will not be able to give you right output. Otherwise, my output will be what I feel as an output as an analyst. So it is very important for all of us to understand that despite all the things which happen here, first two are very critical, and the third is the most critical, because cleaning of data in a structured format, and we'll talk about data separately, we'll get to know what is data cleaning all about. These three becomes very critical in the entire data science approach and implementation of data in your company. So let me quickly now talk about some basics of what is machine learning and what is all it all about. So let's take a very simple example. And when we have seen this happen in our lives when we were kids. When we are kids, and suppose we come from a particular caste. Say let's take a simpler perspective. We come from a South Indian fraternity, and you have a neighbor who is a Punjabi neighbor. So what typically happens is, as a kid, you spend a lot of time at your neighbor's house. Then you pick up words, whatever that particular person speaks as a language, because of your brain, and that brain is some amazingly powerful. And then you keep that thing recollect, and then you are in a position to talk about it. You have those 4 5 Punjabi words in your life all throughout as you live. Now what is happening is, you are trying to uh, you have already memorized certain words in your head, and you are actually knowing these words, and you talk this to your friends, because you say that, what I've learned when I was a kid, because I used to live with a Punjabi family almost 25% of my day. Now typically a machine learning is a similar process, which is subset of an artificial intelligence. AI is a very detailed topic, which has it. Artificial intelligence is typically a brain outside your head, which works in a similar fashion like a brain, and it first gets feed it automatically on certain data sets, and then it keeps on improving and learning it and starts throwing it back. So if you put the entire stuff of different kind of fruit photograph into the machine's algorithm, you will probably have that data set. By without your intervention, the machine would probably start learning automatically using its own approach and own nested algorithm, and it will keep on throwing back an outcome and improvising the outcome. So machine learning is typically a subset of AI, which provides machines an ability to learn automatically and improve the experience without being explicitly programmed. I don't need to really write another data set or a code to get this simpler answers, and that's what machine learning is all about. Now there are three approaches to machine learning, which is what we call. So again, I will explain you with a story. First is a supervised learning, then we talk about unsupervised learning, and then we will talk about reinforcement learning. So what is a supervised learning? A supervised learning is the learning which you happen in your school classroom physically. There is a teacher who's guiding you. You feel that is a teacher who's guiding you with questions, guiding you with data, giving you the output. All you need to do is feed that machine with that input and then output. It will do some statistical outcome and throw you an output. A very similar understanding is how your school works, a physical school works. So that is supervised learning. So I supervise the computer with an input and an output, and I tell him to do A, B, C, D steps, and it will give you that output. Now, what is unsupervised learning? Unsupervised learning is the learning what we're having now. So we are doing an online session where we have some data, some output. I really don't know what kind of output you will carry it, but I have some sense of it. There is a one-time guidance which I'm giving you. You need to define the pattern, understand through different patterns of data sets what you have seen, assimilate the data, work on some mathematics on your brain, and start giving outcomes. So unsupervised learning is data which is not labeled. So I really don't know what kind of output, except the fact that I know you will be taking some information home. So data is not labeled. That is what it means. There is a no or a little guidance. So I would probably be guiding on the line, unless or until we have a different consulting approach where we one on one we sit like a supervised learning. And then you use the patterns of understanding of all the information which is there and try and use that patterns to make outcomes. A very simple example, as Tanvi spoke, or that probably let me put another thing. You have a set of data which somebody says that these are the people who are possibly people who are educated people from Mumbai who would probably want to take a data science course. So I don't know how many people are going to take a data science course from them, right? Or how many people are trying to actually go to do for consulting. What I will probably do is I'll try and see what is the data set all about, what are the different records it has, what is their behavior, are they of senior age or a junior age, are they educated, non-educated. I will go through a lot of decision through cutting and slicing and dicing the data, and then probably with some trends I see, okay, I have seen that data has 50% of students who are graduates and 40% of students who are 40% of the data is working professionals, and I see these 40% of working professionals have enrolled in some data science course sometime or the other. So there is a trend that these guys will probably take the course more than the students. So that's some trends and patterns which I will develop and probably come up with a solution, and that is known as an unsupervised learning. Excuse me. Yeah. And then the last is a reinforcement learning, and this is a very classic situation. Like everybody must have seen this movie, The Castaway, by Tom Hanks, right? Where Tom Hanks was the main hero of the movie, and he gets lost and marooned in an island almost for a long time. So what is happening is, here I am in a panic situation. I have no clue of the input and output, because I don't know what is the next step going to be. He doesn't know whether it's going to be a cyclone coming in that island. There's going to be some animals coming in the island. He doesn't know what to do. He keeps on adapting to changes what is happening, whatever is happening around him, and it's a hit and a trial method, by virtue of which you come up with a solution or you interact with that environment. So if you see the movie, he's interacting with the environment. He's trying to eat things like raw fish. He's trying to adapt to the situation for him to survive, so that over a period of time you will at least reach the end. Now, a very classical example for reinforcement learning is, everybody must have played a Candy Crush, right? Uh, can I have an answer quickly, yes or no, on the chat? How many people have played Candy Crush? Has everybody or anybody played any video game, if not Candy Crush? Any video game, yes. So what happens in a video game? Or in a video game, the computer is playing against you, and computer doesn't know you or your EQ or your IQ or your visual focus or your ability to do things faster. So computer is in a panic situation because he doesn't want you to win, and the computer and you are trying to adapt to the changes, because every time you come to the new level there are new difficulties. So you are hitting and trial method is being adopted, and then you start learning how that hit and trial works, and then you probably take proper decisions to win the game. So reinforcement learning, a classical example of reinforcement learning is a video game. So a video game works on that machine language. So it's intuitively adapting to your, that if you are an easy player, you will feel that it is very difficult. For a player who has played with a lot of practice, he knows how the different options have to be exercised. The difficulty increases. So no two guy would be having a same way of working in a video game, and that is what is reinforcement learning. The machine reinforces itself, knowing to know how that opposite player is playing, the gamer is playing, and tries to give you those kind of difficulties. So these are the three typical ways of, oh yes, it reminds of GE TOEFL. Yes, exactly. So a lot of computer based tests are on the reinforcement learning methodology, because if you see a lot of people who write computer based examinations, banking or probably IITs or GRE or GMAT, somebody would find it very easy, then somebody find it very difficult, or probably the first few questions which are easy, that means you scored right, the fourth answer becomes difficult, or the fourth questions become difficult. So are the three ways in which you use analytics or you create machine learning: one, supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement. Now if you look at this table will give you a glimpse of how this whole thing works. A lot of things are there as details, some model names. Don't worry about it. As we go, or probably in some sessions we can talk in detail. So if you look at this, the last line, in the business, the supervised learning typically has an outcome of forecasting of your business or effect of promotion on sales. Suppose you have run a promotion. If you want to find out how the promotion is effective on your sales, you typically use a supervised learning methodology. if you are running a supermarket and if you want to basically create a maximization of revenue through bundling of products, which you normally see in most of the supermarkets, where there would be a Colgate toothpaste bundled up with probably a Colgate toothbrush, or a Maggie bundled with a juice or something. So this is typically in a data science terminology known as market basket analysis, and that is where you use unsupervised learning, where you don't know what would be the outcome, but you definitely know the income input, sorry. And the last is the reinforcement learning, which is typically creating a game. And a lot of companies which are building games, who are building games or selling, creating games for selling to people, use reinforcement machine learning. So these are the three ways and applications. So let's come back from top bottom up. So here you predict, which is typically use a variable or mostly a linear regression model. Here you try and associate different products, and then you probably come up with something known as an association problem, which is the a priori algorithm which you probably use. Here is where your deep learning, Sudeep, which you are asking me, where there is no income input and output, you adapt. A self-driving car is a classic example of reinforcement learning or a deep learning, where it starts to learn and adapts to situations and tries to achieve the task. So some use cases, profile of customer is given. You need to know whether he will take a loan or not. A cluster of movies, typically, which is what the Netflix uses. Cluster of movies, good or bad. Then you bases the social media outrage. So you don't know good or bad. So you, sorry, not Netflix. Any probably social media probably uses this. And a game, Call of Duty, you need to just get into an environment, try and play the game so that you shoot the enemies and you run and win the algorithm. Now, applications of these are different in different places. Typically, supervised learning is fairly used in the country and the world. Forecasting of sales, risk evaluation. Unsupervised learning is the recommendation system. So, one of the examples which we will talk about with and we will talk about is something to do on this. Then, reinforcement learning is typically creation of games, self-driving cars, a lot of things, and some popular algorithms. You know, to need to really understand this as of now, these are the popular algorithms which are normally used in the market. So you exactly know if somebody is talking of a random forest or a support vector machine or an a priori or a q learning, you know where and why it is used. And that's what I wanted to give you a glimpse of the machine learning and what are the three types of learning in machine learning. And typically artificial intelligence is an overall perspective where it is used in most of this, where it gets artificially done. And this, so it is a very, it's a term which is normally used in very different ways. People just try and use it, but the objective is to solve a problem and use different methodologies to solve the problem with the different situations to adapt with it, which is supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement. Now, again, an interesting table which we have prepared, and this table actually gives you a complete understanding about a level of what is data science all about. So, it's supervised learning, which has two different areas: regression and classification. Unsupervised learning, which is clustering, that means associating with patterns or rules. And these are certain applications which are used. Again, here these are applications or statistical tools or mathematical tools which are used. So as linear regression, multilinear regression, polynomial regression, you use decision trees, you use uh, advanced neural networks. So you use a lot of kernel bias theorem to basically classify or regress a data. Use clustering approaches for associating a particular data for an outcome, which is a priori. Market basket is widely used in the world, and typically this is what most of the people use. Uh, then hierarchical clustering also used in most of the places. Then comes to reinforcement, which is typically the deep learning, NLP, and the reinforcement models. So these are different models which are used. So neural networks, convolutional neural networks, very advanced, using data with visions and images to come up with something which are basically known as computer visions, image detections. Then you use natural language processing, which is not of people use it. Is sentimental analysis, text analysis, and book prediction. All of these are uses NLP. So this is overall in terms of what exactly happens in a data science, umbrella. Uh, yeah. So let's any questions till now? We will take this, but this is a very quick update and introduction. each of which topics are absolutely in detail, a lot of work, a lot of interesting stuff which we can look at. Yeah. So let me go ahead and now come back to the reality of life. All of these are used for us, but for what? For understanding our business. And let's quickly look at dashboards. And then I will speak a little bit on how, being a Zoho partner, we can help you and understand how Zoho analytics and dashboarding can help you do things. So what is a business dashboard? Everybody has seen a car dashboard, right? It has got a lot of things and indicators which gives you a clear understanding whether you have a petrol up or not, whether your gas is leaking. And nowadays most of the cars are smart cars which have a lot of things which can be displayed. And typically the dashboard name came from this perspective. So, a business dashboard, information management tool that tracks and simplifies complex data into simple outcomes. It gives you a lot of visualization. So, if you see something which is maximum and minimum in a chart or a graph, it is more appealing and agreeable to you rather than seeing numbers of 200 numbers where you have to actually go from first to last to see whether which is the highest, right? So, that's what visualization is all about. And then it's normally known as a business intelligence or a BI dashboard. That's what dashboards are all about. So I won't dwell deep because most of the people have an understanding about dashboards. We will talk more about dashboards in terms of application and using it in the subsequent slides. So benefits of dashboards, very simple. It helps you in better decision making. It's time consuming, time saving rather than consuming. It improves your goal setting. So if you have a clear goal that I want to know how many people have grown or how many territories have done 100% in the last financial year, a dashboard gives me immediately an outcome. So my goal setting is more clearer. So I know which territories to have a better goal or a lower goal the next year. It gives me flexibility to pick and drop things, which we will talk about. It gives shared insights. So a lot of insights can be shared. I can share it. And it is a lot of insights which are deeper can be opened up and shared to all the people. And it gives me a clear, improved market segmentation. So I exactly know what to focus on or what to deep dive on when I see a dashboard. So what are the applications of dashboard? So it can customize views. I can customize the way I want to see it. I can choose the best visualization, the way I want to, which appeals to my eyes or my audience's eyes. I can define objectives, what I want to. I have an ability to drill down. Like suppose I see a two pie chart which says that Bombay 74% and Chennai 26%. So I want to know what in Bombay is 74%. I can just click on it, it'll get drilled down to more. I'll show you that as we go. It helps me ensuring accuracy about what I want to take as a decision. Definitely colorization because it becomes easier rather than having 300 different slides. I can have it one slide, everything. I can involve a lot of users, so I can actually participate, collaborate with a lot of people, and I order the dashboard as per the key KPI importance or a proper process for me. Rather than seeing everything, I can just see what I want to see first top down. So we are an authorized partner for Zoho, and we will talk more about Zoho. A quick understanding about Zoho Analytics. 23 years of a company experience in the business, a huge profitable industry or a profitable business moved from USA to India. Mr. Sridhar has been a humble personality by itself who's driving this company for a long time. It has an analytical solution which is almost using 1.5 million users today with 10,000 plus customers across 150 countries. We're very happy and proud to be associated with one of the pure play analytics partner in India. Uh, some awards definitely looking at this is the size of the SaaS software as a service which Zoho holds. It holds about 1.7 billion rows of data with 1.2 terabytes of data size. It has the largest on-premise customer. We have 150 million rows of data with 150 GB of customers' data on-premise, which we have deployed. Very simple. Get your data, create a dashboard, and collaborate and share and embed. Is that's what a product flow is. It integrates with all types of data. It need not be only Excel. It includes all types of data of all sizes. It can integrate your social media, LinkedIn, Facebook data. It can include all types of SQL, Oracle, MySQL, AWS. It can integrate all your sales functions like sales CRM. It can integrate your marketing. It can do a project management, CRM, everything. It can integrate. Every data source can be integrated on Zoho. It has powerful Excel kind of an spreadsheet by itself and formula engines which can drive your outcomes and all our self things. It is the best way to create a report. So you can just, it's a drag and drop feature. You just drag it and put it, you'll get your report in place. You don't really need to learn coding for this. You just drag it like a Tableau or any kind of a software. It is much, much more advanced than any of the other data mining software today. It has a unified business analytics. That means it can combine from multiple sources. Cross-functional reports can be done and extract end-to-end business insights. Variety of visualizations. So we will see some visualizations of a live client. I'll put it on the Zoho platform for you to see that too. And more importantly is these are the kind of dashboards which gets created. Very interesting. Suppose if this is your company's dashboard, you can exactly know what is your sales, your funnel to sales ratio, which countries are doing well. You can use which social media is doing well in which country, what is your ticket size of your customer resolution, and you have a top line here very clearly on revenue, expenses, profitability, your score. And this gives you a glimpse of your business, and that's what this can be done by function, by geography. Across geography you can slice and dice the data the way you want it. And definitely interesting, they have something known as an augmented analytics. They have what is there like Alexa, there is Zia here. So Zia will help you to actually do the things without even really thinking about the programming. You can just ask Zia, I want to know the deals for the month, and it will give you the deals for the month. So as simple as that. It's an augmented analytics which is already available with Zoho today. uh, Smart forecasting. So from year to year, the forecasting trends of your sales, which can be done, and you can use any kind of tools and the formula which are already prevalent in the Zoho table. And this helps in a lot of pre-visualization of analytics and the basics of what most of the MSMEs or professionals would need. uh, it can alert, it can send alerts to any teams, it can send alerts, you can create alerts on the data which gets flowed. You can share and collaborate the data with everybody in email, via printout, via an HTML on the cloud. You can share the data and act to real time. So you can actually create a situation where every morning 9 o'clock I need to create a report and it can goes to everybody. You can see the data on a mobile and the Android, or the mobile and the telephone or the tab. It's completely mobile friendly. You can white label. If you are a company running this, you don't need to talk as Zoho Analytics. You can have a fine pick analytical table. You can white label this whole program and embed it in your company's analytical approach. And it's completely secured and privacy oriented. It complies with GDPR, all different certifications which is available and needed for today's world. And more importantly, we have data centers in India also, which takes care of the data privacy, apart from continents like Australia, America, and Europe. So you can start a free trial. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sending this link on the chat. Please click on this and please enroll yourself for a free trial. You could definitely know what you want to do when it comes to a Zoho Analytics. So yeah, that's what was I was talking about dashboarding in Zoho. Let me go back to the last part of the slide, which is about applications of analytics. So here we will talk about different applications of analytics. Typically, analytics are used in three different areas. Algorithms are used in internet searches, digital advertisements, and recommendation engine. We'll talk about the recommendation engine as an example. Data is used in industry like financial services, retail. We talked about market basket analysis, where data is used to create association of two products as a bundle. It's used in communication, about how do you want to communicate to clients, what are the focus keywords which you want to use, and how do you build that particular story. It's used in industries like healthcare, energy management, gaming, travel. These are typically your unsupervised or reinforcement learning, where you would want to use this to understand and assess the utilization of energy, or what kind of next travel a person would probably do, or what kind of games people are interested to play. So these are some basic understanding of analytics. We have some use cases which we can discuss in detail. Let's talk about the Amazon recommendation engine. Which Tanvi, are you there to quickly take us through this?
Yes, Venkateshwar. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So
So, Yes. So I'm assuming that most of you would have done some online shopping, especially in the era of COVID. You would be aware about the famous Amazon's recommendation engine. So basically, what it does is it creates a personalized shopping experience for every customer. So basically, the users are recommended a unique selection of products based on their past shopping behavior. So let's suppose you go on Amazon, you buy something. Amazon captures all your data, all the clicks and everything you do on their e-commerce website. Everything is recorded, and based on your past shopping behavior, let's say you have bought something, they will keep on recommending you different products. So what they do is, in order to recommend products to their customer, they use a famous algorithm called, which they call as item to item collaborative filtering. And what it does is, basically the job of that algorithm is to identify the related products that have large overlaps in their customer base. So let's say I go to Amazon's website and I want to buy a laptop. So once I see the product, what happens is there is a section called as the frequently bought together section, which suggests us a combination of complementary products. So the focus of this particular section is on cross selling. What they do is they won't show us three laptops or three laptop bags. What they are trying to do is to cross sell different products, to have some kind of complementary products which will go with the product that we are trying to buy. So in the case of, if we are planning to buy a laptop, they will show us some products which are related to laptops, like let's say some kind of accessories, some peripherals, or some softwares that we might need with our laptop. So this is how they are trying to cross sell the different products. So basically, the related products, it's not necessary that they have to be in the same product category, but they can be products which are used together. Like in case of a laptop, it could be a mouse, or it could be a laptop bag, or some kind of an antivirus software. So what again, what they do, they have one more section in which they show you products, like customers similar to you have bought these products, which mean in their entire customer base, they try to identify which customers are similar to you, and based on the products that they have ordered, they will suggest you that these are the products that maybe you might also like. They are just trying to understand your buying behavior, and in order to do that, they are using other people's data and trying to find out which customers are similar to you, and then they go on recommending different products to you. So basically, what they do is, if suppose, if your aim is to maximize the order size, you want to have that people should order many products from your particular website, you should consider recommending a group of products that the customer can buy as a bundle. In this example, it would be laptop, a laptop bag, or some antivirus software included with it. This will increase your chances of cross selling and maximizing the order size. Apart from that, we need to understand one more thing, that these recommendations are only available to the customers or to the members which are registered on the Amazon's website, and they have some kind of a transaction history, some kind of purchase history. Only then the Amazon recommendations will be available to you. If suppose you are a new member who has no purchase history, then the recommendation page would be populated with the best selling items instead of recommending any new product, because they don't know what is your behavior and they can't predict it as of now, since you don't have any purchase history. So they will wait for you to make any kind of a transaction, and then they will start recommending different products to you. So this is how the Amazon's recommendation engine works.
Great.
Over to you, Venkat. Yep.
Thank you, Tanvi. So these are certain basic things. So if I would probably give you an easier example from a small and medium company, and I would give you a small case study which we did. Typically, there was a company which was into trading of spices, and this company used to trade spices for a long time, and was actually, to be taking an example, was an Amazon such as channel partner or an Amazon vendor. Now, obviously, this company had its own challenges, and he would wanted to, really look at, increasing his margins, because there was a lot of money which he was paying for Amazon as its channel partner or a vendor, because there is certain percentage of revenue which Amazon would take from him whenever he is to get a order. Now, we basically looked at his data set and understood that, his objective was, should I be move into an own e-commerce site or not. So we looked at his data and we identified a couple of key points. Like first is we understood that whether he was wanting to what was his first sales for the last 4 years. So we saw his sales and we identified which was the maximum pack or the product which was selling the highest. Second, we also understood one of the key levers which we found out was what was the trust factor of his brand in the market. And obviously, because he didn't have the market and the trust, so he worked with Amazon. So we saw one of the key iterative areas, which not iterative, the key index or a key parameter or variable, I could say, one of the key independent variable was the which we had considered was his what do you say, the way he picks up the money and the order from the client. So there were two options normally which Amazon gives, which is pay on delivery or through a credit card or an online transfer. So we saw that this particular companies in the first 3 months to 6 months, his payment on delivery was almost 80% of the order, whereas the 20% was typically online. But as and when in the span of 3 years, the entire thing got reversed. His payment on delivery, the cash on delivery or product payment on delivery became almost to 18% by the end of the last end of this term. It's almost 2019. It's a live case which we worked, hence I'm not able to share the name of the client and the data. And his payment on delivery became from 80% to 18% in the last 4 years, whereas online actually reversed. So this became a valid indicator that there was an immense trust of the brand, and people started paying him online. So people were understanding his payment process. People saw that the products were genuine, products were good, and that helped in asserting whether he can then independently take a decision of building his own e-commerce website. Also, we understood that to speak we also understood through the data that his maximum sale happened on a Tuesday. So typically if he runs a promo on a Monday, Tuesday the sales will be better. So that was a second insight which we got, and we could tell him that don't run his promo on a Friday or a Saturday, run it on a Monday if you want to get a maximum mileage. We also identified the geography in which what his products were selling the best, and we tried to give him a distribution plan or a distribution strategy on which geography should be attacked in which communication. So that also helped him to build a communication for his own e-commerce website. So if you look at both the case study examples at a larger aspect with companies like Amazon, data is used, and there are protocols, there are algorithms written at a stage of an MSME or a trade organization who's trading and manufacturing. Same processes can be implemented, only the size of data is different. And that's what I would want to conclude this. Thank you so much for being patient and listening to me and Tanvi. So I finally conclude by saying, in God we trust, all others plus please bring data. And we have some I will send you the link on this. Please visit website tatvamasi.com for our upcoming programs. We are doing a lot of long-term programs in terms of a 4-day 5-day sessions on data science. We are doing consulting purely focusing on MSMEs from end to end. We will help you in building up your entire data set right from inception of data science process to an outcome. And last, yes, so we are now open to questions. I can be happy to talk about questions. Yes, I will put my video online. Thank you so much, and it's been pleasure all of you listening to me. Please, can I look at the questions? Aishwar, are you there? Is there any questions which we have? Yeah. Okay. Uh, okay. So there are some questions. Hetal is asking, could you please explain the prioritization of non-ML methods over ML method with some example? So non-ML methods and ML methods just completely depends upon the size and the objective what you're trying to focus on. A very simple example put is, if there is a company which is running a business, say financial service business or a legal business, where the company has a lot of data, and it is a data which can be stored in an Excel. We don't need a huge amount of algorithmic way of writing. All you need is to basically slice and dice the data with the current simpler tools which are available on Excel or any data analytics project. You could probably use that, which could be your machine language, non-machine language. So when I say non-machine language and machine language, typically everything is a machine activity. So you use a statistical input for an output. So if you see a supervised learning is a non-ML mostly, or you can term it as more non-ML because there are very straightforward input and output. You have set of things to do. Whereas if you talk about any other activity, like suppose let's take the same example, if the company is running a liability business, or sorry, a company is running a business of say loans, and this company has a huge amount of data of people who have picked up home loans. Now he gets some data from outside, and somebody says that, you know what, this is the data where we can actually go and call these customers and you will get more business for home loans. So you don't know whether that customer is right or wrong. You really don't know what you can do with it, because you can't end up calling all of them, because that involves a lot of money. So you probably would do some kind of an machine learning initiatives. You could do some unsupervised learning initiatives, or some activities which would basically create a pattern. You will understand, you know, the people who has bought in your data set have a pattern. You try and look at that pattern in that, and probably put a statistical probable outcome saying that 50% of these people may take a home loan. So rather than calling the entire 100% of people, you could probably talk to only 50% of people. So does that answer your question to an extent, Hetal?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, cool. Great. Any more questions? Is it necessary to learn many program languages? So no, I said no. So programming is basically a very simple aspect. Like if I have to go from Bombay to Chennai, and I have to communicate that, you know, to the cab guy at the Chennai airport that I have to go to say T Nagar, I need to know the logic. And if I know the logic, that is more important than the language. So the same logic I have to apply if I go to Chandigarh and tell them to go to say Amritsar or a Golden Temple. I need to have a logic to ask him. The languages are different. Here I could probably speak in Tamil, the grammar. There I could speak Punjabi, the grammar. The logic is more important than learning a programming, because if you know the logic of doing things, computational thinking would be a right word to use rather than learning programming. You should know, and you should have an ability to do computational thinking, and that would probably help you to build a programming base. Rather than just keeping on learning programs, it will not help you. If you don't understand the grammar, probably it may not help you in any way. Yeah. I just did, we just shared, I guess, a small poll. I hope everybody has answered to the poll. That would really help us to get to know how do we move ahead. So do share the poll. Any more questions? Sudeep, did I answer your question on deep learning? Sudeep, are you there?
Yes, I'm there, and sorry, I was
Yes.
answering into the poll.
Okay.
But yes, you did answer. Thank you.
Okay, great. So any more questions? We will give a lot of time to people. Yes, Arvind, you can now speak also. You don't need to write chat, because we are almost done with our presentations. We have next 20-25 odd minutes for discussions here. We can have all of them on the screen, so that if, and unless and until somebody is busy. Yeah, so any questions? Okay, so thank you so much for all of us to attend this program. I think if we don't have questions, we can definitely wrap up for the day, and see you soon in future sessions. Tanvi, anything from your side? Aishwar, anything from your side, so that we can formally end the session?
So just I
Hello,
wanted to add one point, like about the
please.
question that Ashwarya has asked about the programming languages and the
Yeah,
example
yeah,
that you have given, that was pretty correct. I mean, it's not necessary that you should be knowing all the different programming languages that exist
yeah.
out there. Basically, you should know the basic stats. I mean, why you are applying a particular algorithm to a given scenario. Why? First question should be why and which algorithm to apply. And
Correct.
most as one point Venkat has already mentioned about like the skill set of a data scientist. He pointed that 40% of it is to it is that you should know the business. So the main focus of you should for a person who is entering into the field of data science is to understand the business and understand the challenges that they are having. And if they can solve that particular problem through machine learning, then it can be solved through any programming language. It depends on the size of the data. Like, let's suppose if you have a good amount of data, then sometimes you go for PySpark. Else, maybe if the data amount is not that much, you will go with Python or R or any programming language. But the concepts remain the same. It doesn't depend, like whether I'm coding it in R or in Python, everything remains the same. Only thing is what problem I'm solving, which algorithm to apply, do I have the data? And once suppose you have built your model as well, but your data quality was not good, so in that case you will again have to go back to the business and understand what can be done now. Should you wait and collect more data, or how you can improve the quality of the data that you have? So these are the questions, and the this is like the iterative process that we have, that you go back to the business and check with them that let's say how you go and ask about their inputs on how to improve the model performance.
Very true, very true. I think that was really nicely in detail explained. Great.
Nothing from my side, sir.
Okay, thank you, Ashwar. Thank you, all of you. I think we can formally end it up. We were just taking a punt on 2 hours. I think 1.5 hours is good enough for us. But do write into us, tatvamasi.com. Do visit us. Do connect us with us for any questions on data. Please check our upcoming programs. We have elaborate, detailed programs. We have programs at for businesses. We have programs for students. We have programs for all age of people who would want to be a part of the data driven revolution. And with it, I hand be all of you, be safe, be happy, and be absolutely fit and fine, and take care of yourself. Thank you so much. Have a pleasant evening.